Minato always dreamed of gaining the power of one of the legendary heroes. He wanted strength that would allow him to defeat an entire army with a single wooden stick or cast spells with a mere thought. But reality is cruel, and when Minato entered the Hunter Academy, it turned out that he was a loser among losers. Unable to pass the qualifying test, everyone made fun of him, but the best student in the class, Hizaki, behaved the worst. For him and his friends, the best entertainment was beating up Kanagi Minato. They did this every day, and even took all his money. But everything changed one day when Hizaki and his friends decided to rob an ancient mausoleum of heroes, and dragged Kanagi along with them. They began stealing ancient treasures. Our MC tried to stop them, but they just beat him half to death and threw him into a lake to die. There, in the depths, hundreds of ancient legendary heroes appeared to him and offered him a choice. To gain the power of one of them, he could become anyone: a swordsman, a mage, a summoner, an archer, an alchemist, or something else entirely. But our hero had endured too much in this life to limit himself to just one kind of power, so he confidently chose everything. They told him it was impossible, too dangerous, that his body wouldn't be able to withstand it, but he didn't care. And so, he gained the abilities of 1,000 ancient heroes. When he emerged from the water, he was no longer the Kanagi Minato those bastards knew. They were shocked that he had survived. Like a cockroach that refused to die, Kanagi silently picked up a stick from the ground and swung it in front of Hizaki's friends. Of course, they just laughed. Meanwhile, Hizaki lost his patience and ordered his men to deal with Kanagi once and for all. His friend, an A-rank swordsman, rushed forward, confident it would be easy, and immediately paid for it with his life. Another friend, a mage, began to cast a spell, but while he was chanting his long incantation, our hero struck him with lightning from a single finger, frying him on the spot. Now only Hizaki remains. As he approaches, Hizaki struggles to accept the reality before him, that Kanagi has absorbed the souls of the founders through the crest of nothingness. Inside Kanagi, the founders express their joy and excitement, marveling at the freedom they now experience after centuries of confinement. They eagerly discuss who will take control of Kanagi's body, treating it as a competition. Among the founders, the great swordsman Hinoki Reichiro addresses Kanagi. He inquires about Kanagi's plans, dismissing Hizaki as insignificant, and directing Kanagi's attention to something far more ominous behind him. Kanagi, now focused, turns to Hizaki, who stammers in fear, warning Kanagi not to underestimate an A-rank hunter like himself. Without hesitation, Kanagi delivers a powerful jab to Hizaki's face, sending him flying through the air. Kanagi then turns his attention to a mysterious bag emitting a dark aura. As he focuses on it, a surge of immense power blasts out from within, catching him off guard. Hinoki, however, remains calm with a faint smile playing on his lips. Meanwhile, in the city, a three-headed wolf monster is wreaking havoc. A man calls out to Kisaragi, urging him to handle the beast. Kisaragi swiftly engages the creature and strikes it with a waterfall impact attack from above. The crowd erupts in cheers, amazed by his ability to instantly defeat an A-rank monster. Kisaragi, an S-rank hunter, humbly accepts their praise. As they prepare to file a report and grab a drink, a deafening aura engulfed the city, accompanied by an overwhelming pressure. Panic spreads as people collapse, and even hunters struggle to withstand the force. Kisaragi turns to see his team in distress, realizing that A-rank and B-rank hunters are unable to stand against the source of the pressure. It is clear that an S-rank monster has arrived. On the streets, people collapse under the immense pressure that is emanating from the mausoleum of the founders. In the jungle, Hizaki, trembling and struggling to sit up, stares in shock as a massive monster emerges from the bag before them. He mutters in disbelief, questioning if it is a demon and what it could possibly be. Kanagi explains that Hizaki's actions have undone the seal, releasing one of the boss monsters from the tower that has been sealed away. Hizaki, observing the unfolding disaster, understands immediately what has transpired. The act of removing the relics has undone a powerful seal, allowing one of the tower's dormant monstrosities to break free. Hinoki, analyzing the beast with precision, recognizes it instantly. It is the embodiment of emptiness, classified well above S-rank danger. According to Hinoki, it can kill numerous humans within a few kilometers with its poisonous aura, and was quite common during their era. Panic takes hold of Hizaki, who abandons reason and flees in desperation, convinced that staying means certain death. Kanagi, however, understands the predator's instincts and warns that movement will only invite disaster. The warning comes too late. The moment Hizaki breaks into a run, the monster reacts with predatory precision. It attacks Hizaki with its massive tentacles. Hizaki barely has time to raise his blade in defense before the tentacle strikes, piercing his chest with ease. Though he once slew a dragon with that very sword, it proves utterly useless against this ancient beast. The creature wastes no time spreading onto Hizaki's body and draining his very essence. His agonized screams echo through the streets. But Kanagi, having foreseen the inevitable, merely observes. Hinoki, standing beside Kanagi, takes advantage of the moment to place a hand on his shoulder. He proposes that he seeks complete control over Kanagi's body. He asks if Kanagi wants to see his one-handed sword style. But before the offer can be fully entertained, other founders intervene, grabbing Hinoki by his hair, accusing Hinoki of attempting to claim such a powerful vessel for himself. Caught in the act, Hinoki seeks to defuse the situation. Though it doesn't help, it is Kanagi who disrupts the dispute, presenting his own terms. He will not grant control to a single individual. His body will be shared among them all. According to him, he will surpass them all and ascend to their level, proving his worth through strength alone. If they seek to use his body, they will need to show him what true power looks like. Hinoki, bewildered by Kanagi's audacity, readies his blade. Then, seizing the opportunity, he takes the first step in merging with Kanagi's body, rallying the other founders to do the same. As Hinoki lifts his sword, shadowing him, Kanagi does the same and targets the limbs of the monster. Hinoki's blade, guided by the expertise of another founder, severs one of the demon's arms in a single decisive strike. The beast retaliates with another violent swing, but Kanagi, now infused with yet another founder's mastery, evades with inhuman agility. Strength upon strength layers within him, each founder taking turns in controlling his movements. The old master's influence grants him the ability to seize the creature's own tentacles, using sheer force to slam the monster into the earth. The monster is sent flying by the attacks as Kanagi grabs a bow from the ground, allowing him to pierce the monster. He then uses every skill at his disposal, including whirlwind, fire breath, and ice attacks. Hinoki, seizing control once more, picks up Hisaki's broken sword from the ground. Just as the demon attempts a surprise attack from below, Kanagi's eyes glow yellow as the great wizard within him takes over, electrocuting the creature mid-strike. With a powerful leap, Kanagi positions himself above the monster, and Hinoki, now in control, executes his signature one-handed sword technique. The Gekirutachi wave cutting blade, slicing the demon in half and ending its rampage. A victorious smile spreads across Kanagi's face as the demon falls. Meanwhile, perched on a nearby tree, a raven observes the entire scene. Somewhere in the city, a man standing on a tower answers his phone, shocked to hear that the monster has already been defeated before he could intervene, inquires if there are any strong hunters nearby. And the person on the other end reveals that, according to footage from the Raven, it is a student from the academy who has accomplished the feat. The man, Chihara Midori, the world's strongest awakened, expresses his desire to meet this student. The next morning, Midori sits atop a pile of monster carcasses, calling the academy's director. He informs him about the S-rank monster's defeat, but clarifies that it wasn't his doing. Based on the Raven's footage, it is Kanagi who has slain the creature. Midori finds it hard to believe, given Kanagi's history of failing the hunter's examination 3 times in a row. He requests a favor from the director. Back at the academy, students buzz with chatter about the previous day's events. The overwhelming aura has left many unable to move, and now they speculate about who could have defeated the monster. One student jokes with his friend, claiming he was the one who did it. But his friend dismisses the idea, pointing out that it has been a decade since the last S-rank hunter emerged. However, rumors are circulating that the Slayer is indeed a student from their academy. Kanagi, leaning on a stick for support, walks through the campus with his trembling body. He overhears the conversations, amazed that the incident has become the sole topic of discussion. Suddenly, a man bumps into him, knocking him to the ground and scoffing at the idea that someone like Kanagi could be the S-rank Slayer. Kanagi knows the truth. He has defeated the demon, but only by lending his body to the founders. Now his body aches terribly from the recoil of their power. As he struggles to his feet, a voice echoes in his mind, mocking him. It is Hinoki, who reminds him of his ambition to surpass them. Hinoki's tone is both challenging and encouraging, pushing Kanagi to regain his composure and strive for greater heights. Kanagi recalls his words from the previous night and responds with quiet confidence, affirming his determination. He forces himself to stand, ignoring the lingering pain in his body. Hinoki, residing within him, chuckles lightly, urging him to show his resolve. As Hinoki observes the students around them, he can't help but feel a sense of disappointment. The awakeners of this era seem no stronger than ordinary humans, a stark contrast to the warriors of his time. He muses that if the tower were to reappear now, the world would undoubtedly face its end. However, his thoughts are interrupted when he senses a powerful aura nearby. Kanagi notices Hinoki's sudden shift in demeanor and asks what's wrong. But Hinoki brushes it off, though he can't shake the feeling of the immense energy he just detected. At that moment, a professor calls out to Kanagi, instructing him to hurry over. Kanagi, assuming it is about his letter of resignation, so he approaches hesitantly. He is well aware that he has exhausted his 3 chances to pass the hunter's qualification test, and failing means starting over from scratch. To his surprise, The professor orders him to go to the field for a re-examination. The news leaves Kanagi stunned, as such opportunities are almost unheard of. Meanwhile, students gather by the windows, whispering among themselves. None can recall a hunter re-examination ever being conducted before. On the field, Kanagi is in position for a sprint. He is still not in perfect condition, but is determined to prove himself. The first challenge is a 100-meter sprint, with an average completion time of 3.6 seconds and a record of 2.7 seconds. The student who bumped into him earlier trash-talked Kanagi, calling him a failure. As he begins to run, the students watch in disbelief as he crosses the finish line in just 1.2 seconds. The next test is a 3,000-meter sprint, with an average time of 4 minutes and 20 seconds and a record of 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Kanagi shatters expectations again, completing it in 1 minute and 17 seconds. The following tests, push-ups, bench press, and others, yield similar results. Kanagi surpasses every record, often doubling the previous bests. The students are left in awe, some even admiring his newfound prowess. Kanagi himself wonders if the founders are still aiding him, but Hinoki assures him they have no hand in his performance. In the headmaster's office, Midori is entrusted with Kanagi Minato's complete records. As he flips through the documents, he can't help but be impressed by Kanagi's exceptional track record. The headmaster, however, expresses his initial doubts regarding the request for re-evaluation. While Kanagi's physical prowess is undeniable, the real concern has always been his magical capacity. Across every assessment conducted over the past 3 years, his mana levels have remained entirely undetectable, rendering him incapable of utilizing magic. The headmaster has dismissed the possibility of Kanagi ever being worthy of the Academy's attention. Midori's secretary, seemingly unsurprised by this revelation, affirms the expected outcome. Yet, he finds amusement in the situation, hinting that things might not unfold as anticipated. Out on the training grounds, Kanagi prepares for his magic measurement test. The professor overseeing the examination details the process, revealing he will need to channel his mana into a large fan, setting it in motion within a span of 30 seconds. The number of rotations recorded will determine his score. The standard performance stands at 1,513 spins, while the highest recorded result has been 4,022. As Kanagi readies himself, memories of past failures surface. No matter how much effort he has previously exerted, the fan has never so much as trembled beneath his attempts. His inability to sense mana has always held him back, but this time is different. For the first time, he can perceive it coursing through him, originating from his right foot, spiraling through his body, and returning once more. He recognizes that his breathing can regulate it. Instantly, the fan spins into motion at an astonishing pace. The counting machine struggles to register the rapid increase in speed, while the sheer force of the wind makes it difficult for the observers to even see the numbers. The velocity escalates beyond expectation, and before anyone can react, the machine bursts. The fan, now completely detached, shoots across the field like a cutter. Students cry out in alarm as it hurtles toward the main building, crashing directly into the headmaster's office with a deafening impact. Inside, the headmaster barely evades the incoming debris, collapsing from the sheer shock of the event. Midori's secretary, stunned by the spectacle, can hardly process what has transpired. Meanwhile, Midori, unshaken by the chaos, merely chuckles. To him, the resemblance between Kanagi's abilities and his own is undeniable. According to Midori, there has only ever been one individual before Kanagi who has produced an immeasurable score, and that is himself. The professor, still trying to make sense of what he has just witnessed, declares that Kanagi has passed the hunter examination. A wave of excitement ripples through the students as they erupt in cheers. Not only has Kanagi shattered every record, but he has surpassed all expectations. Staring at his own hands, Kanagi trembles with disbelief. He has spent years believing himself incapable of wielding magic, yet the power has been within him all along. From the sidelines, Hinoki observes the scene with quiet satisfaction. Having anticipated such an outcome, Kanagi knows that everything has changed. By surrendering his body to the founders, he has unlocked the dormant potential that has been hidden within him all this time. Hinoki can't help but laugh, remarking internally that the one before him is far from ordinary. With the crest of nothingness marking his fate, it's as if he has been waiting for this very moment for over a century. Before he can dwell further on the thought, an overwhelming presence descends upon them, sending a shockwave through the air. The sheer force of it leaves him momentarily speechless. His mind scrambles to make sense of the explosion, but Hinoki instantly recognizes the tremendous aura as it's the same one he had sensed earlier that morning. Standing before him, seemingly materializing from the very pressure itself, is the legendary Midori. Kanagi, seeing him, is shocked as he is the strongest hunter in existence. Midori landing starts addressing him directly. Midori acknowledges his achievements in the hunter examination, offering words of recognition, but Kanagi can barely utter a response. Midori then puts up a new challenge before him, which is an additional test. Midori wants Kanagi to land a single hit on him, the world's strongest hunter. Hearing that, Kanagi is left frozen in shock for a moment. Midori, 23 years old, a man who has earned the title of a full-fledged hunter at the mere age of 9, now stands before him. His feats are legendary, unmatched in all of history. He has turned thousands of demons to ashes in mere moments. His power so overwhelming that even other hunters dare not stand against him. 10 years ago, he single-handedly eradicated the pandemonium outbreak, and 5 years prior, he subdued the outbreak of Kyushu. He is a living singularity. As Midori explains his challenge, Kanagi is left in disbelief. However, Hinoki is excited, urging Kanagi to surrender his body to him immediately. Yet Midori explained the conditions in the simplest terms. Kanagi had 1 minute to strike him. Whether he succeeded or failed, no consequences would follow. Midori himself would only attack once every 10 seconds, ensuring that the challenge remained fair. There was no need for hesitation, no need for doubt. Any skill, any weapon was at Kanagi's disposal, while Midori would refrain from using any of his own. To prove his sincerity, Midori summoned a vast arsenal of weapons, giving Kanagi the choice of anything he desired. The sight of so many legendary weapons appearing in an instant only added to the surreal nature of the challenge. Confusion clouded Kanagi's thoughts, realizing that he was going to fight the famous Midori in a one-on-one fight. Still unsure, he hesitated before finally asking if he was truly free to use any weapon. In response, Midori casually picked up a katana, his grip light but assured. With effortless ease, he sliced the blade clean in half, as if it were nothing more than a brittle twig. He stated without the slightest hint of arrogance that his body surpassed the sharpness of any blade. Kanagi barely had time to process this display before Hinoki's impatience flared. Frustration seethed in his voice as he demanded to take over, unable to tolerate Midori's overwhelming confidence. His anger boiled over as he declared that such words from Midori were unforgivable. Kanagi could feel Hinoki's energy surging, his presence amplifying as though he was ready to unleash his full strength. It dawned on him in that moment that Midori's power was comparable to that of the founders themselves. Against that level of strength, he had no real chance of victory. Yet, even as realization settled in that there was no time to hesitate, meanwhile, all the students gather around for the fight. Without warning, Midori initiated the countdown. A slight smile tugged at his lips as he signaled the start of the test. Kanagi grabs his sword and charges at Midori, determined to attack. Hinoki questions whether he intends to fight alone, insisting it isn't fair, but Kanagi ignores him and continues his assault. Despite knowing his efforts are futile, he believes that to become a legend, he must rely on his own strength, rather than borrowing power from the founders. He swings his sword at Midori, but Midori effortlessly dodges with minimal movement. Even as Kanagi relentlessly attacks, he remains on his phone, casually asking which social media he uses, and remarking that the incident will surely be recorded and go viral. The students watch in disbelief, astounded that Midori can dodge every strike without taking the fight seriously. Though Kanagi continues his relentless assault, one student notices something unusual about his movements. As they watch closely, Kanagi lifts his sword, feinting a vertical slash before swiftly switching to a horizontal one aimed at Midori's feet and throat. The execution is flawless, and Kanagi is amazed at how naturally his body moves. Realizing he isn't tiring, he wonders if this is the effect of lending himself to the founder's power. His thoughts are abruptly cut off when Midori places a finger on his head, preparing to flick him, and casually mentions that 10 seconds have already passed. Kanagi narrowly dodges, but the power Midori releases obliterates the field. Seeing the destruction, Kanagi realizes that if the attack had connected, his head would have been gone. Midori glances at his hand in confusion, sensing no malice from Kanagi, and wondering if he had miscalculated his own strength. Panic grips Kanagi as he understands that he will die at this rate. Desperately, he tries to recall the sensation of his stronger self. As he focuses, a powerful aura surges from him, catching Midori off guard. Kanagi launches another attack, his speed increasing rapidly. The students are in awe, shouting that the camera can't keep up with their movements. Midori notices the shift in Kanagi's presence and wonders if there is a specific condition to activate this power, or if Kanagi is deliberately keeping it a secret. Realizing another 10 seconds had passed, Midori decides to strike Kanagi lightly this time. He bends down, positioning his finger to flick again, but instead, he hits Kanagi in the chest, sending him crashing hard into the wall. Kanagi coughs up blood, yet he finds the experience incredible. Marveling at the fact that he is fighting the world's strongest awakened, he understands that if his body were the same as it was yesterday, he would already be dead from that blow. This realization makes him smile, knowing it means he is growing stronger. However, he also acknowledges that his current skill is not enough to pass Midori's test. Determined, he chooses to push forward with brute force and charges at Midori once more. Suddenly, Midori appears beside him with unbelievable speed, causing Kanagi to stop in his tracks. Apologizing, Midori tells him he has seen enough. He then states that the 30 seconds are up before striking Kanagi at the nape, making him slowly lose consciousness. As Kanagi collapses, Midori observes that he is indeed a genius, but not on the same level as his comrades. In the end, Kanagi is unable to fully unleash the power Midori had sensed. Calling his secretary, he informs her that they should head back, expressing his disappointment in the outcome.